There you go.
Great. Perfect. Okay. So thank you, everyone, and thank you to IDG for inviting us back. We're really excited to continue our partnership with IDG Legal. So again, my name is Anthony Maria Bova, and I am here with my colleague, Hannah Sears. We are here specifically to talk about our pro bono programs and specifically how we're partnering with IDG Legal in our legal counseling project. Next slide. So just a brief bit about New York County Lawyers Association. We are a membership organization similar to IDG. We are a voluntary membership organization, a nonprofit membership organization of attorneys. We have been around for over 100 years. So we were one of the first major bar associations in the country to admit regardless of race or gender, and we're very proud of that. We're also mission driven. So as I mentioned, one of our core missions is to provide free legal services to New Yorkers across various areas of the law. Next slide. So we provide a variety of programs and meet a variety of legal needs. So the first one is our legal counseling project. In this project, we counsel, limited scope counsel in the areas of housing, employment, and family law. We also do work in Social Security. Hannah, I think you have to press the next. There we go. We have a project that represents individuals who have been denied government benefits, are appealing those benefits denials in federal court, and we represent those individuals who are seeking that appeal. We also have a program called the State Central Registry Project, which represents individuals who are appealing reports on the State Central Registry of Child Abuse and Maltreatment, which affects employment prospects and the ability to foster or adopt children. And another example of our work is our Manhattan Clara project, which represents individuals who have been sued by creditors in New York County Court. So these are just 4 examples. We actually have a number of other projects that we do, but we wanted to just give you some examples of the breadth of the work that we provide. And as I mentioned, we vary our work from limited scope counseling, which is what we do in our legal counseling project. But we also do full scope representation, which takes you from the beginning to the end of your respective case. Next slide, thank you. So today we are here to talk about the work that we do in partnership with IDG Legal in providing legal consultations relating to housing law, landlord-tenant law. Specifically, we want to talk to you a little bit today about the eviction moratorium, which you may have heard a bit about over the last year, the financial hardship declarations related to the moratorium, and the emergency rental assistance program. Next slide, thank you. So in the earlier part of 2020, when the pandemic hit, there were eviction and foreclosure moratoriums that were put in place through executive orders that were issued by the governor. The last executive order in effect was then replaced by a law. This law was called the COVID-19 Emergency Eviction and Foreclosure Prevention Act of 2020. So this was signed into law at the end of December 2020 and has since been amended to extend its various protections. So this law does a variety of things, but the main pieces we would like to highlight for you today is the moratorium on residential evictions and foreclosures, and the related hardship declaration that can help stay or pause a housing court case. So for residential evictions, the law places a moratorium on residential evictions until August 31st, 2020 for tenants who have endured what is considered COVID-related hardship. So tenants must submit a hardship declaration in order to prevent the eviction from proceeding prior to August 31st. For residential foreclosures, the law places a moratorium on residential foreclosure proceedings until August 31st as well. Homeowners can file hardship declarations with their mortgage lender or a court that would prevent a foreclosure prior to August 31st. So in the slide, you'll see there's a note about nuisance matters. So there's an important exemption to this moratorium. which is for what are called nuisance cases, which is when a tenant is considered to be creating safety or health hazards for other tenants. So, of course, what is considered a nuisance is subjective, and the landlord must prove their case, and you're allowed to defend yourself. The key thing here is if you have a case in the nuisance part of housing court, you should appear in your case no matter what. The moratorium does not apply. So if you have an upcoming court appearance, you can consult with a lawyer, or you will have the opportunity at the appearance to retain a lawyer if you're qualified under the right to counsel law in New York. So other than this exemption, all other residential eviction and foreclosure matters should be covered by the moratorium. So as long as you file this hardship declaration. Keep in mind that the moratorium does not mean that a landlord will not attempt and is not permitted to pursue an eviction proceeding or a lender pursue a foreclosure proceeding, but you have effectively bought yourself some time before you have to appear in court. Next slide. For those of you who aren't aware of the hardship application, we're providing an example of the front page of the English version on the slide that you see right now. So the form applies to anyone who could say that they've experienced some kind of financial hardship because of the pandemic, or that would need to move, that moving would cause some type of health risk. So we're also be providing a link after this presentation in the chat to the court's website where you can access this form in up to 20 different languages. Note that you don't need to wait until a case is filed before completing this form. If your landlord is threatening eviction, for instance, or your lender is threatening to foreclose, we would actually suggest filling out the hardship application preemptively and as soon as possible and sending it to them. And this may actually stall the proceeding from starting at least for a couple of months. If you do complete this form and you have an open case, we would recommend delivering the form to both the landlord and the court. And if no case has been filed yet, as I mentioned, you can deliver it just to the landlord and your lender. And if you do send the hardship declaration or any related documents to your landlord, lender, or court, make sure to save copies of all the documentation. This includes evidence that you actually sent the form, such as a certified return receipt from the United States Postal Service, or evidence of tracking and acceptance from another delivery service such as FedEx or UPS. Next slide. So we also wanted to inform everyone this evening about the New York State Emergency Rental Assistance Program, which began as of June 1st. If you're eligible, you could receive up to 12 months of rental arrears payments, up to 3 months of additional rental assistance, and up to 12 months of assistance in your utility bills. We'll be providing a link where you could check your eligibility online, and there are various organizations throughout the city that can help you complete your application if necessary. And if you'd like to speak to an attorney about any of these issues in more detail, our pro bono program administrator, Hannah Sears, who's here with me tonight, will now discuss how our legal counseling program at the New York County Lawyers Association can help you. Thanks.
Okay, so for the legal counseling project, as Anthony mentioned, we partner specifically with IDG Legal for consultations with a lawyer on housing or landlord-tenant law questions. These could include everything that we just went over, but they could also apply to other types of housing or landlord-tenant issues that you might be experiencing and that you'd like to speak to a lawyer about. The consultations are free, and as with all of the consultations with our legal counseling project, they don't include full representation of a case. A lawyer wouldn't be able to appear in court with you, but they would be able to give you advice. Currently, these consultations are happening over the phone. They can also review documents and give you information about how to complete documents or where to find necessary documents that you need to fill out. And you can have multiple consultations if you have initial questions about something a landlord has told you, for example, and then a month later, the landlord has communicated again with you about something else and you want to have another consultation, that is totally available to you. Through IDG Legal specifically, there's an online intake form that you can access, and we'll post the website for that or the link for that in the chat as well. And I'll show you a little bit more what that looks like on the next slide. But basically, when you complete the intake form online, that gets sent to IDG Legal and to me, to NYCLA. And in that intake form, you would be able to easily upload documents. The form stays confidential, and it's just the information that both is helpful for our volunteer lawyers to know in advance of the consultations, as well as information that we collect just to record about the cases that we're serving. And then once I receive the intake form, I would reach out to you within 24 to 48 hours by phone or by email, which you'll have provided in the intake form. And that call will just be a brief call to schedule the actual consultation with the lawyer. And if there are any remaining questions after I've reviewed your intake form, then I'll just go over those with you as well. But that's usually pretty brief and just to schedule the consultation at a time that works for you and a time when one of our volunteer lawyers is available. And this, as I said, this is what the IDG Legal site looks like. If you specifically click through to get housing support, and this button here that says get housing support is where you'll be directed right to the intake form. And as I said, that's what you'll complete, which will be sent to me so that I'm able to schedule your consultation with one of our lawyers to discuss any of your legal concerns relating to landlord-tenant laws. And another thing I should note is that IDG Legal, as part of our partnership, also provides a translation service over the phone that is available for these consultations. So if you speak a language other than English and would prefer to have the consultation, to have an interpreter on the phone call to assist with that language, that is an option that is available and has been very easy to coordinate for the consultations as well. So that is the end of our presentation. I will stop sharing the screen, and as I mentioned, we'll put in the links. I'm not sure if they've been sent already, but we'll make sure to put in the links to the chat, both for information about the rental assistance program, the hardship declarations, and the link to the IDG Legal site where you can find the intake form if you have specific questions or specific landlord-tenant issues that you would like to schedule a consultation with a lawyer to discuss.
So yeah, so I did put all of the links in the chat. If anyone had any specific questions now, we did have a couple of minutes to the extent we could possibly answer them. Otherwise, do feel free to go to the intake form site and we can match you with a lawyer who can hopefully help you. And you could also just, as I mentioned, we do have a variety of other programs that we provide legal services for. So if you have any inquiries about that, you should also feel free to reach out to us about that as well.